I always thought of myself as a practical man. I was never one for grand gestures, never the type to write poetry or buy flowers without reason. My life was about steady hands, steady work, and steady commitments. When I met Claire, I didn't believe in lightning strikes or love at first sight, but I did believe in consistency. She was kind, approachable, and had this way of listening that made you feel seen. That, I think, is what drew me to her most. We met at a mutual friend's dinner party. I was there out of obligation, not enthusiasm. I remember standing awkwardly with a drink in my hand, not sure who to talk to, when she walked in wearing a soft green dress that seemed to shimmer under the dim kitchen light. She wasn't the loudest in the room. She didn't demand attention, but when she laughed, it was a laugh that made you turn your head. I spent most of that evening talking to her, about books, about our jobs, about trivial things like the music playing in the background. By the end of the night, I found myself thinking, I want more of this, more of her. A year later, we were inseparable. 2 years later, married. 5 years in, we had bought a small house on the outskirts of town, painted the kitchen walls ourselves, argued about curtains, laughed about broken shelves, and built something I thought was uncheckable. I wasn't naive. I knew marriage was work, but I believed we were putting in the effort together. I believed our fights ended in resolution, not residue. I believed she loved me as deeply as I loved her. Looking back, I wonder now if I mistook comfort for loyalty, if I mistook silence for peace. The first crack was so small I almost ignored it. It was a Tuesday evening, and I came home later than usual after staying at the office to finish a report. Normally, Claire would text me around 6, asking what time I'd be home, reminding me about dinner. That night, nothing. I walked through the front door and found her in the living room, phone in hand, smiling down at the screen. She looked up a second too late, as if she hadn't expected me yet. "Hey," she said quickly, tucking her phone under her thigh. "Hey," I echoed, trying not to read too much into it. We had dinner. We talked about our days. She was a little distracted, but I chalked it up to work stress. It wasn't unusual. But then it started happening more often. The phone always in her hand, always angled away. The half-smile she wore when she was lost in thought. A smile that wasn't for me. I told myself it was nothing. Everyone spends too much time on their phone. Everyone texts friends, coworkers. Everyone has their own little world inside that glowing screen. But the seed was planted. And once you notice something, you start noticing everything. Our intimacy shifted. Not all at once, but gradually. The touches grew fewer. The kisses quicker. The lovemaking, once an act of connection, became an obligation. I remember lying awake one night, staring at the ceiling while she slept beside me, her body turned away. I tried to remember the last time she had reached for me without me reaching first. I couldn't. I told myself we were just in a rut. All couples have them. But in the pit of my stomach, I felt it that cold, knowing unease. One night, I asked her directly, "Is everything okay with us?" She looked at me, startled. "Of course. Why would you ask that? You seem distant, preoccupied." She frowned, shook her head, and smiled faintly. "Work's just been stressful. You're imagining things." And because I wanted to believe her, I did. The truth didn't come to me all at once. It came in fragments. A receipt in her bag for a restaurant we'd never been to. A perfume I didn't recognize lingering on her scarf. A weekend work trip that didn't quite add up. But the moment of confirmation, the moment my world shifted, was simpler than I could have imagined. It was a Sunday morning. Claire was in the shower, and her phone buzzed on the nightstand. I shouldn't have looked. I know that. But the sound repeated, one buzz after another, and something in me couldn't resist. I picked it up. The message preview on the screen read, "Last night was incredible. I can't stop thinking about you." My heart slammed against my ribs. My mouth went dry. I opened the thread, hands shaking. Dozens of messages. Intimate, detailed, loving, and none of them meant for me. I put the phone down like it had burned me. When she came out of the shower, towel wrapped around her hair, she smiled casually. "What are you doing up so early?" I stared at her, the words lodged in my throat. I wanted to scream. I wanted to demand answers. But instead, I just said, "Couldn't sleep." And for the rest of the day, I carried that secret inside me, the poison spreading with every breath. I lasted 3 days before I broke. We were sitting at the kitchen table, eating dinner in silence. She was scrolling through her phone. I was pushing food around my plate, my chest tight with unspoken rage. Finally, I put down my fork. "Who is he?" Her head snapped up. "What? Don't play dumb, Claire. I saw the messages. For a moment, she froze. Then her face hardened. You went through my phone. That's what you're worried about. That I looked. Not the fact that you've been screwing someone else. She opened her mouth, closed it, then said quietly, it's not what you think. Don't insult me, I snapped. I read enough to know exactly what it is. Her eyes filled with tears. I didn't mean for it to happen. The words hit me like a blade. Not a denial. Not even an apology. Just an admission dressed as regret. How long? I demanded. She didn't answer. How long, Claire? 6 months, she whispered. 6 months. Half a year of lies, of smiles across the dinner table, of kisses goodnight, of pretending. I stood, unable to sit still, pacing the kitchen like a caged animal. Do you love him? She hesitated. Too long. Far too long. That's all I needed to hear, I said, my voice breaking. The days that followed blurred together. Some moments burned bright in my memory: the sound of her crying in the bathroom, the emptiness of our bed when she began sleeping on the couch, the quiet phone calls she made when she thought I wasn't listening. I went through every stage: rage, sorrow, denial, bargaining. I wanted to hate her, but part of me still loved her. I wanted to forgive, but every glance at her face reminded me of betrayal. Friends noticed the change. My coworkers asked if I was okay. I lied. I told them I was tired, stressed. How could I explain that my world had collapsed but I was still standing inside the ruins? Eventually, Claire moved out. She packed a bag one night after another argument and said, I think it's better if I stay with a friend for a while. We both knew what a friend meant. It's been a year now. The divorce papers are signed. The house is sold. The life we built together is scattered in boxes and memories. I still think about her sometimes. About us. About the man I used to be before betrayal carved me into someone else. What I've learned is this: betrayal isn't just the breaking of trust. It's the shattering of identity. You stop knowing who you are, because so much of who you were was tied to someone else's faithfulness. But slowly, painfully, you rebuild. I'm learning to find joy in small things again. To trust myself again. To stand alone and not feel incomplete. Do I forgive her? Not yet. Maybe not ever. But I forgive myself for loving blindly, for believing too easily, for staying too long. And that, I think, is the first step toward healing.